Hello and welcome to the How Kung Fu Changed My Life podcast with me, Sifu James Marsh. Today we have a really interesting conversation with Sifu Kleber Battaglia. He's one of the most experienced Wing Chun practitioners in the world, having been training for 30 years, starting in Italy, then to the United Kingdom, then Hong Kong, and then also teaching in Shanghai for 10 plus years. It's a really fascinating conversation about his journey and also about his how his understanding of Wing Chun has changed over the years. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. So, Sifu Kleber, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure, my pleasure. When you mentioned it to me, I was like, yeah, of course, I will do it because I know you very well, and I know actually how deep you can go into certain kind of topics. So I knew this would be kind of different from the usual kind of interviews that people do. So I'm very happy to be, hosted by your channel. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So we're obviously it's a sad week for the Wing Chun community because one of our Kung Fu brothers, Sifu Martin Rogard, unfortunately passed away. So I know you knew him a lot better than I did. I also knew him a long time, but I know there were a few things you wanted to say about him before we get started.
Whew. Yeah, he just passed away yesterday. I don't know when this will go, published, but yeah, basically we just received the news, and we've been slightly devastated by this because a person like him, which was full of life, he was so healthy, and he just came out of the blue. Was so unexpected. He was fighting. They found a brain tumor last year, and he's been fighting with it for almost a year. But in the end, he decided to go. And as I wrote in my post, I like to see it as he finally went to challenge the gods in Valhalla. It's being Danish, being always a proud Viking. But to me, it's almost important that um, he's been remembered for what he did for this Wing Chun community, which he was one of the most unbelievable talent in the Wing Chun community. He was especially for the way he approached the Wing Chun concept, always trying to break it down and trying to analyze every small little detail. He had this kind of like passion, which was almost contagious, we can say. All the people around him were like kind of mesmerized by his presence, and his skills was, you know, it was awesome. It just, I think, is a great loss for the Wing Chun community, and I do hope that. Uh, we will manage to keep alive his spirit, his to inspire people to approach Wing Chun and to make Wing Chun relevant again. He was, uh, you know, striving to bring back Wing Chun as a fighting arts, because in the recent years, with the advent of martial arts, MMA, mixed martial arts, many people. Go directly through it and consider traditional martial art, especially Kung Fu, has gained such a bad reputation in the past, years. And so he was striving uh, to really make it relevant again. And we will try. Both me and Sifu Benno, we were great friends with him, and we usually did seminars together. So we will try to also organize events in his name and keep his memory alive. I hope we can manage to do that.
No, very well said. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, I want to go back to your journey because obviously, you know, there is a certain personality that ends up committing so much of their life to something which is not, we don't do it for money, right? That's evident. You
Yeah.
know.
If I
But
wanted to gain money, I would do any other job. Honestly, not
exactly.
that we don't make money, but is for the for the commitment, and people have no idea how much money we spend ourselves to gain this training. Like to travel around the world and meet with all these grandmasters and spend like ridiculous amount of money, and go in there and then try to analyze what they're trying to do, and it's ridiculous. But I just do it, as you say, because I'm like few others. I'm very passionate about it, and likely there still are a few people that manage to commit to this path. And yeah, so
So where did it start, do you think? I mean, if I think about me, I think there was some experiences, maybe I wouldn't say I was bullied, but I was beaten up a couple of times when I was younger, and this sometimes can generate a sort of motivation, a lifelong motivation. Do you have any early memories that you think informed why you pursued martial arts so much?
To be honest, as many, they start because they kind of been bullied in a way. I don't have such an experience in a way. For me, it was more approaching Kung Fu just because, like I grew up in an era where, like Kung Fu movies were, very popular in Italy back then in the early 80s, and growing up seeing these people doing some kind of crazy stuff on video like Bruce Lee, the Shaw Brothers movie, for me were kind of like, wow, this is so cool. And that truly inspired me to start martial arts. But because back then there was not really Kung Fu, it was not very present in Italy. So I started with Japanese martial arts, which was a complete different approach, which I respect deeply, but it was very different from Chinese Kung Fu. And but then I find actually a school of Wing Chun in later in my teenage era, and then yeah, I went on studying it, and I truly loved it. And but then back then I was committed to my studies. I am a psychologist. I graduated as a psychologist. So back then I was really involved with my study, and so I just did it as a hobby. And then I entered the world of uh, trying to find a job in Italy, let's say. And that was not so easy because, the Italian situation is still a country which is very much related to, to gain certain position, you need to know certain people, and it's not so easy because everything you had to pass through the government, but the bureaucracy is so slow. So it was kind of it is still, it's even worse probably nowadays, a nightmare for newcomers to enter the job community, unless you start to do a ridiculous amount of years for working like assistant or for free for people. So it was like kind of like I truly loved psychology, but I didn't love to work as a psychologist because the job that were offered were kind of crazy. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to come to England, actually.
Mm.
Because I was like, yeah, I had, a friend say, oh, let's go to England. Maybe we're gonna have more opportunities. And indeed, in England, the scenario was much more open. Problem was that I didn't speak a word of English back then, so so I just say, okay, let's go to England, even though I don't speak a word of English. And yeah, it was kind of like a troubled couple of years, but then I started to also work there, and even though I could find different kind of jobs, I just noticed I was not happy. And to me, I don't know, maybe I'm a kind of Peter Pan, like those kind of people that have this kind of naive idea that in life you always have to chase for what you love. And so I just decided at some point that I was tired of working for other people, and I thought that life would be more than 9 to 5, and then going back home, being tired, watching a movie, and then going to sleep because tomorrow morning you have to wake up early. So I saw that in my family, I saw that in many of my friends, and I definitely didn't want to see that in my life. So I decided to gave up everything basically, and try the crazy idea to go to China and do something that sometimes you only see in the movies actually. I thought, to be honest with you, I thought it would last maybe 1 year or something. I was definitely not aware that it would be something that would take 20 years of my life. I really was not expecting that, really. So I was there, and then I just literally fall in love with the culture. With you've been to Hong Kong, you live there, and it's just it was because now is quite different. But back then
Mm,
it was like such a cosmopolitan place full of life, and kung fu was anywhere, and I was so in love with the culture, the kung fu, and everything that I decided, you know what? Maybe I could do this for a life. So what it started to be like, okay, let's maybe take a sabbatic year and go to China to study Kung Fu and see what's gonna happen into is, oh, maybe I can live here. I can become part of this community and I can express to you because when people ask me like, why do you love Kung Fu so much? You know, honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. It's like you ask me, why do you love your parents so much? Why you love pizza so much? I don't know. It's just when you love something, there's no reason. Because if there is a reason, it comes from your mind. It doesn't come from your heart.
mm, mm.
So when people tell you, "Yeah, I love this because this," is like maybe
Doesn't
you
come from the heart.
doesn't come from the heart. So I have no idea why. It's like at some point it was almost like a life mission because when I was there, I was living, as you might remember, I was living in a lot of difficulties because I had no visa. I didn't really have kind of like regular jobs because I didn't have the visa. So I didn't
Mm.
have money. And so for me, it was like a very, very crazy times. And I
Mm.
was
Well, can I
struggling a
just, before
lot.
we get into Hong Kong, do you mind I just
Yeah,
ask you, because I
please.
remember you studied a bit with Clive Potter, is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes,
So I
yes.
just wanted to know a bit more the jump from, you're studying Wing Chun and what made, yeah, tell me a bit first about Clive Potter and then also what made you want to think, you know what, I need to go to Hong Kong. So just about that sort of period.
Um, when I started the Wing Chun, it was into the Wang Shenlong community, also in Italy. I was following a guy who was into the Wang Shenlong line, let's call it the
Lineage or whatever. Yeah, yeah.
lineage or yeah. So when I moved to London, I found it naturally to go and seek people who were part of the Wang Shenlong community because back then, to me, Wing Chun was the Wang Shenlong way. So that was which I still think is a very very valuable lineage. And so I went to look around, and basically I find Clive Potter, Sifu Clive Potter, and the lineage of Nino Bernardo. So I started to follow basically both those paths at the same time. And I really had great time. Honestly, there were Sifu Clive is a very down to earth and very funny guy, as you might know. And if he's watching, I say hello to him and thanks for all he did, to inspire me back then. Because to me, I was again in a period where again, I was struggling with a job thing, so I went to England, and for a while, I kind of like put aside the Wing Chun because I was focusing on that, and then, basically because of him and the lineage of Nino Bernardo, Guy Coffey. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy, a fantastic guy
Mm.
as well, and yeah, because of them, I kept it alive, and this fire kept growing inside, and. So that's how I was involved. I did that for I think maybe a couple of years, something like that. It was not that long, even less probably, because then because One Sifu was doing an international tour in Europe, and just by pure coincidence, I was in Rome that the day he was doing the seminar because it was my niece's birthday. And so my friend uh, Sifu Riccardo Simonetti, he was basically hosting the seminar. So he
Ah.
just said, "Oh, why don't you come over? This guy is awesome." And I was like, "Okay." I saw back then there was only one video of him, and it was funny because he has those kind of braces, and he was doing some kind of very funny motions, and I was like, "Okay, like go check it out anyway." Just I'm here in town, so and then, as you perfectly know, this guy just blew my mind, and the way he moved, is. Particularly that's the thing. It's not about the Wan Shenlong lineage versus what Wan Sifu does or what the Foshan Wing Chun does. It was basically to me the way he moved that inspired me more compared to the typical, let's say, Wan Shenlong approach. So I was like, wow, I need to follow this guy wherever he is. I really had no idea where he was. So I went to him and basically asked him, oh, I'm gonna come over, and he was like, yeah, many people tell me that, and I was, no, no, I really want to come. I'm that
I'm
kind of
serious.
person. And then, I went. I just, yeah, in few months, basically, I sold all my guitars, my mother buy anything, and I just collect some money to just go to Hong Kong. I'm those kind of guys. When you say to him like, you should not do that, I
You
will
can't
do
help
it. So he
it.
really knew how to kind of like inspire me to go even more. So that's yeah, that's what it is. So my experience of Wing Chun in England was great. Honestly, I think in England the Wing Chun community is great. There is a lot of interest. I think in Europe, England, Germany, and Italy are the countries which have more interest, let's say, towards Wing Chun. So have the greatest community in terms of number. And for sure, the English community has a lot to offer in a way from different kind of uh, lines. Like there is the Ip Chun line, Ip Chin line. Sifu Gary McKenzie is another amazing person, really, really great practitioner. I know many of those people in England. So yeah, I think you guys are very well. Like also there was John back then,
Yeah,
which now he moved to Thailand. Sifu
yeah.
John, who represented Wangkalam back then, and yeah, and now it's you. So it's also
Well, I mean, I
it's
think we're a bit proud of the connection between Hong Kong and Britain. I mean, not that, obviously Britain colonialists took over Hong Kong, but there was this cultural exchange, and I think an important figure is, of course, Simon Lau, who
Of
taught
course,
a
yes.
lot of James Sinclair. But then I think
Oh yeah,
after a
yeah,
while, they kind of what went directly to Hong Kong. They wanted to have a more direct contact, didn't they? But
yes.
yeah, Britain has, I mean, I wouldn't probably have done Wing Chun if it wasn't for, yeah, Sifu, Andrew Sophos, another Simon Lau, a student, and he was always very gracious when I did go to Hong Kong, to seek out more Chinese teachers. So, yeah, no, that is something that can be said for the Britain-Hong Kong connection for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you guys also had the advantage you can stay there for 6 months without visa,
Well,
so kind of
yeah. I mean, Robert
like
still got in trouble, so it
Robert
did.
still got in trouble. Yeah, yeah,
He
exactly.
definitely got in trouble.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so how did that work? So you were like, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm gonna go and so you went to see Wan Sifu directly because I was ended up in Hong Kong seeing a friend, and then I met Wan Sifu, but you actually went to him directly then.
Yeah, yeah. I went to him directly because I met him in first in Rome, and then the same summer or the summer after, I don't believe there was a summer camp which he did in Malmo, Malmo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
in Sweden. And so I went there for the summer camp. I met him again, and again it was a true inspiration. And then from there I say, okay, I'm like. But back then when I went to Malmo, I already decided to move to Hong Kong. So that was when I met him in Rome. I was already like, I will go there, and so probably was the same summer, 2009, I guess, 2008, 2009. And and then yeah, I just moved there. I was in touch with Sandy, which I met him in Rome. Sandy is the person for the people who watch, who basically is the managing partner of One Sifu that he take care of the international students. And so I was in touch with him. I sent him an email, and yeah, basically I just went to Hong Kong. I didn't know the language. I didn't know anything. I just like boom, follow it, and I really didn't know what to expect. Honestly, back then you couldn't really prepare much because, it's not like nowadays you can watch online and stuff. But back then There was, of course, there was internet already was there, but it was not as much, and my IT skills were not still not very good. So I'm one of the old school. So yeah, I went there and I discovered this place. Coming from Rome, from London, which Rome is a very ancient town. London is already a step up, which like. But then I didn't expect like such a place. Such a It's so far away from anything European in a way that it literally blew my mind in many in good ways and bad ways, and
What
it
were
was
some of those ways, would you say, that you remember that the big differences?
well, I was not ready for the skyscrapers anywhere. For me, that was a kind of like, wow, is anywhere, like is literally anywhere, and you feel like this kind of like almost a little bit claustrophobic uh, idea, and the amount of people in the street is literally literally crazy. And I was also in living in Yamate, just upstairs, Sifu school. Basically,
Oh, really?
I
Wow.
was
Easy
basically
access.
One Sifu through. It's funny because a Shanghainese couple, was renting the school to One Sifu, and they were living upstairs in the same building, and they happened to have a free room. So basically, I went to their room to sleep for almost 1 year. I slept in a 3 times 2 meters bedroom.
Wow.
And so to go training, I just go downstairs, and then when I finish, I just go upstairs. That was the beginning of my experience in Hong Kong. So I was there like every day. Back then it was like 5 hours a day, like non-stop. It was like, and I no escape because anytime he could see me if I go back, and so it was kind of like, yeah, yeah, it was a great experience, all in all. Yeah.
I mean, how did you find? Because I remember coming from, Britain and the way Westerners train, it was very much, had that sort of military aspect of like you all line up and we all have a drill and we do the drill. And then I remember how different the training was. And the one thing that I'll always remember is like someone brought in like a McDonald's, like a takeaway, and he just puts it on one Sifu's desk and just starts eating. And Sifu just doesn't care. He's like reading the newspaper. I'm like, what the hell is this? If that had happened in like Andrew Sophos school, like you'd be kicked out like immediately.
It's
It
crazy.
was very. But on the other hand, that relaxed nature meant that it felt people could explore. Sometimes it could be very boring, no doubt, but sometimes it could be
Yes.
you could go deeper because you had that sort of freedom to explore at your own pace. So I don't know, how did you find the style of training compared to Western style?
As you said, like in the West, we have this very military, because we have this idea of traditional martial arts which come from the Japanese community. So we have all this kind of like very like, oh, Sifu, bend down to the masters, and we all believe that the master had this kind of military approach to martial arts, which is definitely not Chinese. Chinese have, as you say, there's this way more relaxed idea. People got this idea of the Chinese masters in the movie, and then you go there, you see all of them are really kind of easygoing, down to earth, and that they really don't care. So in a way, yes, this unstructured, I would say, like, we have a very structured way to go through things, to drills. Like, okay, there is the drill. You have 10 minutes physical warm up, then you have 10 minutes form, then you have 40 minutes training, partner training, then you have pads, and then you have stretching, cool down, and that's not the case in China. You go there for 5 hours. In the beginning, it was 5 hours. It's crazy. And then just people enter the room, and they just go there, start to do the form in front of the mirror, and then somebody will come, maybe correct you, and maybe sometime somebody will come and will say, "Oh, you want to do some chisa, or you want to train this exercise." So there was a kind of like people knew through the generation what to do, and luckily there were some few instructors back then going around, like back then there was Puyi, then ECCK, other people going around, and So actually, all in all, it was a fun experience. But sometimes, yeah, it could get boring. But I was kind of very obsessed back then. So I was like, even like training in front of the mirror, like for 1 hour. I was crazy because I wanted to show him like, wow, this guy is really serious about this training. And I tried to train as much as I could with everybody. Luckily, there was always uh, new people, newcomers coming into because the school was packed. As you remember, the school was like maybe I don't know, it was 80 square meters, something like that.
Yeah, very
Take out
small.
the reception, the toilet, the seating area. So it was like maybe the usable area was like I don't know, 20 square meter, something like that.
Mm.
And there were every time like maybe 40, 50 people in the story. So it was kind of like crazy to train in that way. And it was kind of you always when you do something you bump into each other. You remember it's kind of like
Thank God it's a close distance martial art because there's no
thanks
bloody room
God,
otherwise.
we don't do taekwondos. I mean. So it was
Exactly.
the true meaning of close distance martial art. So in a way, as you say, approaching it with a Western mind, it was very strange in the beginning, especially from somebody coming from the Wong Chun Leong hands-on thing. Was very we need to. It was how do they train these guys? And but to me, it was kind of like humbling experience because when you're there and you're doing the form and then there is a guy like maybe 1 meter 20 very skinny, he comes to you and he corrects your tanza or something, and inside you think like yeah,
What
this
is
guy
this
with
guy?
one finger moving. But then he was like, okay, he probably know what he's talking about, so he was like, okay, let me listen to this guy. And so in a way, it was a progress, a slow progress, because as you know, I didn't have any money. So many foreigners had the opportunity to come over for maybe a couple of weeks, usually, and take intensive private classes sessions with one Sifu. But I did not have that opportunity, so I was there every day for almost 4 years. So that was my progress was very slow in a way because but I'm glad of that because in a way I went through all the all the process in a certain way. I had time to digest certain kind of things, and having him around every day basically was both inspiring and at the same time frustrating because there was the language barrier. There was the barrier that okay you cannot, because in a way one Sifu is very um, open-minded, I would say, for a Chinese master. But at the same time, he also have this very traditional. It's kind of funny this dichotomy, and so for certain things, he was very traditional. So he was like, no, you cannot learn, you cannot pass to Chunky unless you do the Xiu Tao very good, and and then you might see another person coming over 2 weeks taking private classes doing Chankyu or something. Yeah, it was like, oh man, this. So in a way, it was, again, I had this fire inside that, kind of like, okay, I have to, keep going, show him I can do it. So he had this very easygoing approach on one side and then super traditional on the other side. So it was kind of like, yeah, it was difficult. But as you say, because they didn't focus too much on the syllabus, let's say, idea. You can discover always new kind of exercises you didn't know, and you can really get technical into it, as you said, because uh, they might not be Chinese, they might not have this kind of very hands-on approach, but they surely do have the technical approach. So as a student, is a very, very, very nice approach. And because many foreigners also were around, so we could try on with the other foreigners these things all the time. And yeah, so it was. I had so much fond memories of that period of my life. It looks like almost like a dream when I think about
Mm.
that period because I had no money. I was managing to survive. I was struggling so much, but at the same time, I was really doing what I loved, and I have so many friends around. It was such a great period of my life. Even was probably the most difficult period of my life. It was also probably the best time of my life,
I mean, I think, well, there was one question I want to ask later, but I think sometimes in today's society, things are so complicated. Sometimes, even though it was a struggle, it felt like it was simple. Do you know what I mean? You go to your small bed, you come down, you train. You know what I mean? You're like, there's a simplicity to it, which is quite sort of, people maybe miss that. So I don't know, is that something that you felt that like there was I'm here, I'm training Wing Chun, I get, just that's just all I'm doing, this is kind of simple
Absolutely,
approach to it.
absolutely, yeah. And I guess for you, it was a kind of similar idea because
Yeah, well,
you
I
had
wanted
to.
to say that my first memory of, so I visited my friend in 2010 in Hong Kong because he was there for work. And I wanted to visit different schools, and this was the first one. And it was the same, well, different, but I knew Wong Chung Lung was good. So okay, who are his students? This is the first one that came up. And you actually taught me. I remember you even teaching me a Wu Sao, and I was like, oh, for some reason, I was like, oh, this Wu Sao is really different. It just felt really different. The elbow's so low, And so I
It's like,
still
why?
remember.
Why?
I still remember that. But the accuracy, I think that's what I wanted to ask you more about the technical side of Wing Chun, like how it differed and how your skills changed. But I just remember everything was so much more refined in that, like, hey, your stance, you've got to be here, down here, your elbow's got to be here for this reason. This has got to be like this for this reason. Everything was connected to a why, the one thing you have to say about him is he was always thinking about, okay, but why is it like this? Questioning, why is it like this? But why is it, you never say to him, like, why is this like this? And he'd be like, I don't know, it's just the way it is. Like, he would never say that. So I'm, I don't know, that's the way I was taught it. Can
It's
you
just how
imagine
it
him
is.
saying that? Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's probably just the best way. No, he always had a reason. He was always thinking, even if he was thinking on the fly, he would still give you a reason. But I mean, in terms of your own skills, or the way you thought about Wing Chun, like, how would you say it kind of changed during this period?
Cool. Yeah, as I say, to change from a very, very simple approach in a way, like the one Shalom system was. And when I say simple, doesn't is not any the regulatory thing. It's just simple things are very useful and direct. So I think the one Shalom method is very simple and direct. To kind of step into something that it was way more technical with its good and bad points of that, because in a way technicality can be very good because it kind of like change your mindset towards certain things, like in Latin we say the forma mentis, the way that your mind is shaped. So having this kind of very analytical approach, very technical, it really changed the way I look at things, you know? Because for example, if you look at the Leontin system, is way more technical in a way. But sometimes technicality can be a double sword edge because it might bring you away from something. And the thing is that the main problem is that having this very open-minded approach is a very good thing because it lets you question many things. But at the same time, uh, it's also what gives troubles because in a way, imagine I give you a tool and I only partially tell you what this tool can do. And then you can try to be creative to, with this tool and say, oh, this tool can do this, can do that, can do many different things. The point is that that might bring you far away from the source of what that tool was created for.
Hmm.
Because later on in my years, when I moved back to China, I had the opportunity to meet gazillions of of different styles and sifus. And I had also the opportunity to meet through my good friend Sifu Jasper Lundqvist the Foshan because in a way what many Wing Chun people do is like, okay, I have my Wing Chun, yeah, it's quite effective, it's good, but it misses something. We always have this idea that Wing Chun is missing something. And then we go to look into it for that's also what Bruce Lee did. Yeah. So he had a piece of the puzzle, and then he started to go, okay, let me put what do boxer do, or what BJJ do, what Taekwondo do. So we always try to fit the puzzle with pieces from different parts and say, okay, this is, and then you create a kind of a mixture of things, which is probably very effective. I'm not talking about effectiveness of things. I'm just talking about, okay, but why never ever somebody ask, hmm, let me go to see what Wing Chun was before. Because the thing is that people think Wing Chun is from Hong Kong. Actually, Wing Chun is from Foshan. And to my knowledge, to my understanding, not many people actually went back to check what there is there in they always try to fix it with Tai Chi or other things, but what was there? What was the original idea of this Wing Chun? Yeah. And then when I was there, I was mind blown, honestly, because the tradition of Wing Chun in Foshan is like unbelievable. I cannot really even grasp to explain it because you go there and you have all these small different lineages of Wing Chun. You have of course, you have the Ip Man Wing Chun, you have the Yun Kai San Wing Chun, then you have the Yu Choi Wing Chun, then you have the Yun Jia Wan Wing Chun, and then you have all these different. Then you have the Sandak Wing Chun, then you have the Gulo Wing Chun, but the Gulo Wing Chun, there are like 10 different, even more probably, or there, and then you go to so it's like a complete new universe. So when I went to Fosan, my mom was I was like, man, I know nothing about Wing Chun. After 20 years or more that I was studying, I was like, man. And then you find out that there are so many different, of course, ideas behind, but all of them are quite similar. They have a certain kind of core, which is there, which of course is still also preserved in the Wing Chun in Hong Kong. But the thing was like when I was studying, and I can talk from the Wang Shilong perspective and the Wang Kanglang perspective, but I also see many different other styles, and the idea was like, okay, great, we have this Sulin Tao, Chankyu Buji, wooden dummy, long pole, knives, fantastic, very good. I want to learn everything, blah blah blah. But then anytime I was applying this thing, it was always like, okay, I do lap sao, jat sao, bong sao, wa choi. I do a few things. So my mind was asking like, man, why do I always do the same things? Why do I need, if then for applying it, I just do the usual same techniques. Why do I need to Tao Chunky BG wouldn't that me? So I was like, man, and then I noticed that most of the things I was basically doing were Suning Tao. I don't know if you can relate to that, but and then the all the training, different training like the Chizao is a Suning Tao training. All the drilling, they were pretty much Tao drillings, like the lap sao training and the. So uh, I think it was like, okay, but why do I need the Chunky BG, the wooden dummy, the pole, the knives? And he was like, yeah, you take, you have the elbow from the BG and you have the kicks from the Chunky. But to me, it was kind of like, okay, you get a piece here, a piece there, but there's not a method behind. There's no
Mm,
methodology behind.
mm,
So there is not a system behind. It's just like, okay, we have Tao, and they're very good at Tao approach. That's what people think about Wing Chun is the Tao approach. Be square, very close, step in, punch. That is the Tao approach. But then why do we have Chunky with the kicks, the long distance, the PUG with the elbowing and all the different techniques, a 45-degree angle? And that, to me, was what I found in Fosan. In Fosan, I found a system that
mm,
explained to me, okay, why do we have Chunky? Why do we have Buji? Why do we have the wooden dummy? Why do we have this? And all of them, they might have a different idea regarding what, but all of them, they have a specific syllabus that incorporate all these forms and make them valuable at a certain point. Because at a certain point, I was training all these different forms, but to me, again, when it comes to try out this kind of things, because we always like to try out, like it, it didn't there was something that didn't resonate. There was something that was missing.
mm.
So to me
Yeah,
it
I
was the
even
kind of like,
remember you
yeah.
you telling me years ago. I always remember the little comments, but you would say Silim Tao is, Wing Chun is where, your ideal distance, your ideal attacks. You know, at the time you said Chum Kill was like if you want to create space, or if there is more space already that you need to, sort of deal with. And then Bill G was if you're more collapsed, so you're too close and you want to, get to back to the Silim Tao range. So is it that you, when you went to Foshan, you changed your uh, sort of understanding of the other two forms and so on, or was it that it deepened it in a similar way?
Well, to me, being always a kind of very logical, scientific-minded, oriented person. I'm not a scientist, okay, but I was always like kind of like very logical driven towards things. To me, if we had three forms, each form might have his own reason to exist. So to me, just saying, okay, Xulin Tao is because back then was the narrative, like, okay, Xulin Tao is the alphabet, then the Changkyu is when you put together phrases, and the BUG is for recovery situations. Okay, back then already like, okay, yeah, Xulin Tao is the alphabet, and Changkyu is when you put sentences together, but you don't really do things from Xulin Tao in Changkyu. So it was like, okay, so it's like I learn a language from a dictionary, and then when I put together phrases, the phrases are completely different. They don't really relate much. I mean, of course, there is connections. People can always, with the logic, find incredible connections, which might make a lot of sense in a way. But to see the kung fu in that way, and then like many people will say, like, ah, don't train the BUG anyway because it's just the elbows, but it's not really just for recovery. And then, I was thinking like, yeah, but when I have a fight, a real fight in a way, I'm always in a recovery situation. That's not the ideal thing. The ideal thing is only when the other guy is really bad
Really
or,
sucks.
like, it really sucks. And so it's like, okay, but why nobody focus much on the beauty kind of thing? And then he was like, okay, but then, you go to the wooden dummy and say, yeah, that's where you put together Sirin Tao, Chunky Beauty. And then it's like, yeah, but then why do we have a form on the dummy? Why don't we do these things in the drill? What is the difference? Why do I have to wait Sirin Tao, Changkyu, and sometimes some style also Buji to start to train on the wooden dummy if basically what you do on the dummy is not different from what you do in Sirin Tao? So to me, there was kind of like some not logical thing. And again, it's not about the efficiency of the system. It's about the completeness of the system, that how it came to be, how the logic behind gave these three forms. Yeah. So once Sifu also started to talk about, like, Sinuin Tao is for close distance, very close distance. Changkyu is for long distance, and then the BUG is even for kind of closer distance. So Sinuin Tao was kind of middle, and so he started to head in his development is this idea, and but he was only on the side. There was not really a way to apply that, is because we were mostly training the Chizao idea. There was not much Sansao involved, so there was no really training for bridging the queue, the distance, the bridging, and all these kind of different scenarios. And okay, like we put me in a certain way, and so when I went to Fusan, I found a system that says, okay, shooting Tao is for close combat when you're squared in a certain position. So you need to take care of two hands because you're square. So I'm in front of the person. I have two hands. I need to take care of them. Otherwise, the other person will punch me. So to do that, and Wing Chun was one always to stick and put pressure on the opponent. So to do that, and if you want to hit it, you need to be able to control both hands. That is why we have Chizo. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then he said, no, but Chankyu is from long distance. So when somebody is stronger than you don't really want to stay close to him. So you need to go to the side and use the. Also, Bruce Lee had this kind of idea, like going to the side, this
The
typical
Pin
position
San
Bruce Lee
mark
does.
kind of thing.
That's Chankyu.
Mm.
So like, and that's why, because of the long distance, that is why you start to use kicks. And it was like, oh, that makes sense. And then BG is for middle distance, but middle distance, is not. Some people consider, okay, long distance, middle distance, close distance. Actually, the distance is seen in a different way. It's not really like in front of me. is more like I'm going to the side of the person. So the middle distance is somebody who's on this side. So I want to be on this side of the person because if I'm on this side of the person, the other person, if I control this side, the other person cannot use this hand.
Mm.
So it's more about controlling one side of the person, suppress one side of the person, so the other person cannot use the other hand. But I'm outside of being in front of him. So I'm not square. So that's why Buji, anything you do is kind of diagonally because
Mm.
you want to go
Okay.
diagonally. And in Chankyu, you are sideways or pinsan, as we know, because you're long distance, because maybe you're weaker and you want to have a longer reach, or you just want to move out of somebody who's faster and stronger. So you just need to do that, you know. So I was like, oh, interesting. That makes sense. Finally, I found something that makes sense. Now, is this the original approach of Wing Chun? Uh, Hard to say. Hard to say, because the more I dig into it and the more you see, okay, Wing Chun probably was Shooting Tao. Chunky and Buji were kind of added later on. It's a very complicated story, which I don't think we want to get to. Maybe another episode we
Another
do the
episode. Yeah, yeah.
more historical part. But then so yeah, but so the people let's say the Hong Kong Wing Chun, which focus mostly on Suning Tao, is also right, of course, because Wing Chun was Suning Tao. But at the same time, to me, again, I shifted towards the Fosan Wing Chun uh, of Master Guo Guajian. When I say Fosan Wing Chun, there's also many different. So the Ip Man line, because Ip Man, when he was in Foshan, he was teaching different students, and the oldest one, and basically one of the only few that kept going. It was Master Guok Fu, and I learned directly from his son, Master Guok Waijan, which also recently passed away. So this year has been really devastating for my martial world. But he had this incredible approach towards it. Now, is his own approach, is the original approach? I don't care. To me, makes so much sense. He seemed more of a German kind of approach in a way which was very systematic, very logical, and he went so much in depth into things that even to me compared to what Wan Sifu was giving, which to me was again, as I say, from stepping from what I was learning before, it was already very technical. It was a completely like, wow, what is this? So I'm a guy who like a lot of uh, to analyze, to understand what things do, yeah. But then like, oh, but do you really need that in a fight or something? It's like, yeah, but I don't really do kung fu just for a fight. Kung fu is much more than that. If you want to learn how to fight in a brawl, just go to do I don't know, boxing for a few months. But we do kung fu for different I'm tired of people saying, oh yeah, but you try that in the cage. It's like, yeah, but that's not the point of why people train kung fu. Kung fu is it's just a way for us to understand what our body can do and how to use logic to overcome different pressure, speed, force. And that is just a way for us to get closer to what our body can truly do. And
So
to
it's an
me, it
exploration of like your relationship with your own body and your relationship with another body. Um,
absolutely.
Even I remember, I'm sorry, I'm just quoting you all the time, but I remember another thing you told me is it was about stance, and I think I can't exactly remember what you said, but basically, stance is related to your contact with someone else. It's not just holding a position, oh, you can't move me or something. It's about, I can't remember the exact phrase you used, but it's about your relationship with the other person, and so as you say, it Kung Fu is about exploring, balance and, contact with another human,
Absolutely.
it's more than just, as you say, fighting.
Yes, absolutely. Like also when you find a struggle with certain things or certain people, and then, uh, you know, you try to find solution. You try to understand how we move this body into this three-dimensional world, and how we can improve certain things through certain details. And Yeah, like again, for fighting, you probably would not need to all these things, but I don't care. Honestly, again, it's just because to me is a journey, is a discovery of uh, what I can do, how I can connect. To me, it's like a philosophy of fighting, understanding all these little things. To me, kind of like excite me very much. Anytime I find out something, it's incredible. But you happen to all the different styles. Like also modern BJJ is very distant from what the original BJJ was back in the days, and they're also becoming very technical. And most of those things are very hard to pull. But then, the moment when you try to pull it on and that works, it makes you feel like, wow, that is so cool. And it's like, it's like playing a soul game. I don't know if you ever played the soul games, but it's
Oh,
when
like Dark Souls and things like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
you go against those incredible balls, and it's like kind of like it's a skill check, and you cannot pass. Wow, this guy's too is too much. Yeah. And then you go on and train different things, and then you build your character, and then you go back and you beat him up. He's wow, wow, what happened? And you don't even realize that the journey is the important part. It's not the final point of just beating up the other person or something. Is because the only opponent, I know that this must sound very cliche, but really the only opponent is yourself, and what you can do, what you can force yourself to achieve, to understand. And that is why it's so important in a way to pass down the message of our ancestors, which probably were more in contact with their bodies compared to what we are nowadays. And but at the same time also understand how to make that relevant in a modern society. So that is the two
Mm,
things, bridging those two things, understanding what was there, but what was there cannot be used. I mean, not used, but it cannot be really trained in the same way nowadays because we have a different lifestyle. So make that relevant of how people can use it today, because also today we have a different understanding of, we have the internet, we can see how people fight, we have USC, we have we can see so many things, so we can analyze in ways that in the past it was not possible. So using this understanding that the technology has brought us, but keeping connected with the message that people who were connected to these realities were trying to tell us. So
mm,
it's a very difficult way to blend them, to and make them in a way understandable for people, because not many people will go on and approach it in the Chinese way. So
mm,
going there, train the phone for 2 hours, then drinking some tea, and then having some one exercise out of the blue, and so that takes somebody who is very committed to go through it, because that there is a very valuable lesson behind it, but that you have to go through certain things to be able to learning and to understand it. You know already that your mind and your body will take some time to be able to process it. Yeah.
like humility almost of just like this isn't going to be something you get quick. Everyone wants to get rich quick, right? This is something that you are going
Yeah,
to have to, you know, allow is going to take time. Is that what you mean?
absolutely. It is a humbling journey, and understanding that no matter where you are, there is just so much more you can improve and you could learn. And that is so inspiring. Anytime I go to Fosan, I go to visit different masters, because, in a way, when you do sport combat, yeah, it's nice, it's fun. But, at some point when you're 30, in your 30s something, you need to retire. And, also when I was doing BJJ, I remember, I was with the Carson Gracie team in England, in Hammersmith. And then, back then, anytime I come back home, I some kind of injury or something. Is that effective? Yes. It's good for your body? No. Like if you see like, Rickson Gracie now, he can barely move, and all these kind of like old boxers, they're all Parkinson. Yeah, okay. W- Why did you do that? For what?
Mm. Well, that was
Demonstrate.
something I was going to say
Yeah.
is like, you know, you met one Sifu when he was in his 60s, you know, so that's a fair bit older than us. And we know what he was like in his 70s. Again, the way he moved, you know. And I'm not saying there aren't some old school combat sports guys who know how to look after their body. I mean, I can imagine GSP still being very good, but that's because I think they have that humility, like you say, not to just
Yes,
kick the
yes.
crap out of themselves every training session. They don't have to win everything. You know, some of the best guys are people who play. They're very playful, you know. But I mean, would you say sort of studying martial arts for a lifelong, is that so that you can stay have that good connection with your body long term? You know, is that what you see in the best masters that you've met?
Absolutely. Seeing them like being almost 80 years old and still be able to do those moves and to kick ass in a way, and it's just mind blowing. I don't see that anywhere else in you know just in traditional martial arts. You see that, and that comes from commitment, discipline. It's something that the world nowadays is really losing. I
Mm,
feel part of a different generation when usually I step into social media, which is not something I usually do. And like seeing how anything is starting, like people cannot commit to anything anymore, and that's a shame, because now we
mm,
live in a society where anything is like we live in the 1 minute old video. People will not watch this video because it's too long. And people don't read any more books, and they don't watch movies. They watch movies while being on the phone, and it's kind of like ridiculous, the span of attention. We are turning into a different species, almost, I would say. Is that better or worse? I don't know, but it's just something I don't want to be part of,
mm. Well, I
because
think that,
through
yeah, sorry, go on.
no, I mean, what, because through suffering, through discipline, through avoidance, that's what you can achieve incredible things. That's also the spiritual part, when like when people talk about avoidance, like about fighting against the ego. And in this society, which is all about the ego, oh, look how good I am, everybody's posting online, I'm the super grandmaster or something. And to me, is a bit laughable and ridiculous in a way, because no matter what, we are not coming out of this alive, as unfortunately what just yesterday happened. And so just enjoy what you do,
Mm,
just love it, and don't spend time doing focusing too much on the ego of yourself, because that's really in the end it's just gone.
mm. No, well, I think that's a amazing place to, finish for this one. Maybe we do another one at some point. But I think that's a really important message. I think, but I have this sort of undying hope that there is this. We are just in a phase of technology, and then I do think some, deeper values may, are coming back. People do want something with more meaning and something that takes work and it has real truth to it, real like some substance to it. So I think it's great that people like you, can sort of bring this kind of message forward that this is
Yeah,
something to pursue.
in a way, I think it is necessary that the society go through. We are having this because that's what we need. Any single period, the old generation are complaining about the new generation. It's something like that we know through old books and things. People is a happening process. It's just the way society improve, and we cannot say we are better off or not in the new society. So this society will definitely go towards that direction, no matter what. But at the same time, that to exist like yin yang, that's something that I always bring with me from the Chinese teaching, is that something to exist need the opposite. So in a way, this society is necessary for certain people like us to find inspiration and to keep the flame alive of a different approach towards martial art, because nowadays people follow for the Mac Dojo. I see so many people watching videos on master, attach you and the other guy fly, because deep inside ourselves, we all want to be the Jedi. Come on, be
We want to be
honest
the
with
hero.
yourself. We all want to be the hero, the Jedi that without really training, so hard, I can achieve. Just
Neo or
relax,
someone.
and
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
will
yeah.
come to you just by being fun song. And magically from the universe this will come because you also be the one, the selected one. And unfortunately, life has shown us that that's not the case. As much as I would like to fly and to fly people out without just by touching them, that's not that's not really what interests me. Even if it was true, even if that was true, there was a guy who was a Jedi and could move people around, and that will take you 30 years of your life just doing something and which is not martial. Okay, I will do for 30 years something that is not kung fu. And that to me is not really interesting because in a day, showing to somebody that I can fly them around or they cannot move me, it's just ego. Because in the end of the day, you just do the martial art for again for yourself to improve and see what the limit of your body can truly be, without being delusional of what your abilities can be. So that is, like it's very humbling. What
Mm,
the age also, I noticed, like recently that my body start to give me different signals of, so it's nice to take the easy path. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm getting old. I just need some internal martial art training, and it's fair because when I've been training internal martial arts in China, the training was very hard, much harder than what I was training in external. So this idea that came to the West of just whatever, be connected, be relaxed, and it's just an easy way from some Chinese masters in a way to sell off some, like a delusional foreigner and that believe that he can become the next Jedi with few easy trainings. Yeah.
mm, mm, mm,
So the message I want to give is just like keep chasing the kung fu if you love it and never get content with what you can achieve. And if it comes too easy, probably it's not the right thing to do.
yeah, very well said. Lovely. All right. Well, look, was there anything you wanted to say, any seminars or any channels that you want so that people can kind of stay in touch with what you're doing?
Sure. Now I started my new channel, which this logo, which is called Oriental Chronicles. I wanted it to be again a different kind of channel. It's a channel which is not about me. It's a channel about promoting the other kung fu styles, the other people, because I do love kung fu and I want to make certain kind of realities known by people. Now we started because those that we are publishing now are the one that we shooted for the Chinese TV, for the CCTV. And then now I'll almost finish the material, so I will start to make videos by myself. So I go in October. I will go to China to stay there for 2 months, interviewing again different people, and then I will make like a video podcast like this, discussing certain things and to trying to keep a certain idea of kung fu, uh, you know,
Alive.
relevant
Okay.
again in a way,
Mm,
give a different type of approach, or mine is better than yours and I'm the only one who understood, and this secret master on the mountain show me the secret path. So I want
mm,
to people to know that in China there is still, contrary of what people might believe, there is still an incredible amount of masters which are very very capable and they have so much to offer, and people do not know and they go to the usual places because that's what they know. So I just want to give people the opportunity that I felt so blessed that I had in my life to meet these incredible people, and so that's yeah. So please
mm,
subscribe to my channel. We will do a cooperation on this, and
mm,
please everybody watching it, if you also want some also content, that should subscribe to your channel, because that is the kind of interview that people also want to see, the people who support Kung Fu. Yeah.
mm,
And yeah, seminars, I was doing different kind of seminars online. I always promote it through my Facebook or Instagram page. So yeah, people just should look for yeah, either Sifu Kleber or Kleber Battaglia online, and and see what I will always publish new things, and I'm always happy to meet new people with different point of views in a way. And again, I'm not trying to say, oh, the Foshan Wing Chun approach is the best that could be, but I want to just say to people, okay, there is something there that you probably don't know. Just maybe you will like it, maybe not. Maybe what you do is still, for you is still more valuable, you prefer it, and that's fine with me. It's not, I'm not trying to sell the idea that I train or teach the best system in the world or something. It just want to give my experience to people, to all the people that in a way love kung fu, but maybe they didn't have the same possibilities or craziness that I had to experience in my lifetime. So I just want to keep this alive, this
Mm,
kung fu fire, this spirit, which is still alive right now with the last generation of masters, but those masters are disappearing. So I want to preserve it as much as possible.
well, you're doing great work, and I think you're inspiring people
Oh,
of all
thank you.
ages,
Yeah.
to train and maybe even visit China and understand more the culture. So, thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you also for taking the time to be interviewed by me for the podcast.
Oh, it's a pleasure, really a pleasure, because again, all the people who watch, in a way, they might think, okay, I can go to China, but going to China is not easy because it's a closed country, and if you don't speak the language, if you don't know the people to go, it's kind of a bit tricky. So I just want to they can follow us to get some ideas and some directions, maybe. Yeah,
Brilliant. Lovely. All right. Well, we'll catch up next time.
absolutely. Thank you so much to having me on your channel, James. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope I can see you soon again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much for listening. And if you enjoyed the podcast, please consider leaving 5 stars on Apple reviews so that we can promote the benefits of martial arts to more people.